And welcome everybody to another Sunday, another respect. There's supposed to be four of us here tonight. Unfortunately, Dave will not be with us this evening. He's decided to spend the evening with the ladies who came to the meet and greet yesterday, and there were just a wonderful group of people there. But he decided to spend the evening with people who stayed on at that rather than have to face off with two special forces guys. So I'll be doing this all by my lonesome with them, but we're going to have a great great meet and greet. A lot of good people showed up. Got to meet a lot of really great patriots there, plus get together with some old friends as well, and then drive up to here to lovely Washington, D.C. That's why all of a sudden, for the first time, I'm wearing heavy clothes, which I haven't had to do for a long time. But it is chilly up here. But at any rate, we have, like I said, a wonderful trio tonight. And let me bring my guests on. We have the wonderful Michael Jaco and Lieutenant Colonel Riccardo Bosi. Welcome, everybody. How are you guys doing?
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here.
So there's a lot of stuff that's been going on.
Mark, I'm not hearing you.
You're not hearing me?
I can hear Riccardo.
You can't hear me. You hear me, Rick?
Yep, I've got you.
Mike, if you can't hear me, log out, come back in. Try that. Or Rick, you tell him. Oh, there he goes. He can hear. So, but there's been a lot of stuff out there that we've all been watching happen. We've all been listening to my favorite subject there, the fake news, and a lot of the things that are being put out, a lot of the things that are being obviously put out with the exclusive purpose of trying to wake up those who are still asleep. And yet some of the things are so blatantly obvious that people just still do not see it. That should be Mike. There we go. You hear me now?
Got you now.
There we go. Okay. I was just saying that, there's so much stuff out in the mainstream that, its purpose is solely to wake up those who aren't awake. But by the same token, for those of us who are, it's pretty blatantly obvious what's being done. And you kind of sit there and scratch your head and say, what the hell's wrong with these people? Why don't they get it? So let's start with the lobbing the ball up in the air. And we're going to start with Mr. Cole. Okay. Now you got a situation whereby they're worried about, as they've said on the news a whole bunch of times, arresting, 80-year-old grandmothers for January 6th. And in 4 years, they couldn't find anybody related to the January 6th pipe bombs. And here within less than a year, they've got the guy. Whether that's fake news, whether it's white hat, hey guys, look, this stuff should have been taken care of. Not the BS that was being taken care of before. This is the important stuff. This is called weaponization of our government and our judicial system. What's going on? So, Michael, let's start with you.
Yeah, it looks like total disinformation. Again, so many things out there. We could just go down the list. But does that guy really look like a guy that plants explosives, knows anything about demolition? Riccardo and I, we could look at a guy and go, yeah, that guy probably doesn't know anything about demolition. But did somebody plan it for him? Probably, if it was planted at all. So it's just, you can't believe anything at this point. There's just so much disinformation, and whose side is playing which side. I mean, I've looked at so many different things that they've put out there. All these, shootings and assassinations attempts and all this kind of stuff. There's just so much disinformation. But I think there's a plan, and it's waking people up. Yes, a lot of people don't like the way this wake up is happening. But I can tell you, having been part of these, disinformation campaigns when I was in the military, and or seeing them when I was in the military, and actually being part of them when I was in the CIA, and implementing them, I can tell you, you look at these and you're like, this is obviously a disinformation campaign, and I think it's basically to trap a lot of the liberal agenda, and which I heard one person say today, the satanic press. I was like, I love that. I'm about to use that. The satanic press. Yeah, it's very good. And so it's kind of like a Hannibal, pincer movement, lure them in, and then, surround them and just annihilate them. And I think that's what they're doing to themselves over and over again. We saw it with Jeffrey Epstein. They wanted to get that out there, and now we're finding out it's the liberal side that's the most culpable. And so they're like chumming the water with each other to try and draw attention to something. And it's like, wow, it's a great experience for those of us that can see, but I know it's very troubling and frustrating to those that aren't quite in on what's going on yet. But yeah, it's well planned out, well orchestrated, and moving along, I think, very nicely.
Now, Rick, besides the obvious of how ridiculous this whole thing is, and I'm sure you've got your own portion of it in Australia, but the misinformation campaigns that are put out there by the media, and you see something like this, and you add insult to injury by the fact that you had, the wonderful Jake Tapper, why he's still on the air, I have no idea, but that's one of my former colleagues at ABC too. So, you sit and you look at it and say, he calls the guy white. I've been down in Florida for a year, and you can kind of tell. Look at me. I've been down there for a year. I don't look like that. So you got stuff like that, and then that he's a MAGA person. How do we wake people up this way?
Yeah, it's multiple objectives being achieved simultaneously at different time frames. It's a phased and layered approach. So what Mike said is exactly right. It is Hannibal. It's glorious to watch, actually, watching the Liberals screaming for something, and when they get it, they basically shot themselves. That's brilliant. That's exactly what's happening, because as we know, the bad guys have to call themselves out. The bad guys have to fix themselves. If you or Mike or I point the finger, they'll say, well, you're just lunatics. But when their own do it, they're done. The next level down, or another level down, I won't say the next level because there are multiple, but another level down is, at some point, the population will get sick to death of false flags. Will spot them a mile away. And that's actually a really good place for the population to be, because how do you stop someone from being brainwashed? You get them to look at the guy with the watch that's swinging backwards and forwards, say, piss off, I'm not interested in talking to you anymore. You're full of rubbish. And that's what's happening, because we've been here for some time. But now we've got people who have just they're new to the news, let's say, but they're getting frustrated, which is exactly right, because they're going to stop believing the smiling face on the screen and start to apply some judgment. And so we don't have to have, all the false flags that led us into wars over the years anymore. They'll go, well, I don't believe that. Show me the receipts. And that's great, because this overly trusting, compliant and docile population is now waking up, and that's great. So the fact that they tell a patently false story and stare down the barrel of the camera at the people, and the people eventually say, well, he's not white. What do you mean he's Then there's another layer below that, which takes time to get to, that they still have to work on, certainly here in Oz, because we're nowhere near the top in terms of cleaning things out. But stories like before we were talking before the show about the child sex trafficking. I recently did an interview with a gentleman who went to prison for protecting a girl who's being trafficked and sexually abused by her police officer father and his mates, and the ice epidemic in his particular town in the south coast of New South Wales on the eastern coast of Australia. It's a horrendous story, but that story is replicated across the country. Now, they quite haven't got down there yet in terms of cleaning it up because there's just so much. And we have a particular problem here in Australia where the entire country is Masonic. You can't get past entry-level anything unless you're a Mason. It doesn't matter whether you're a police officer or you run the local hardware store. It's everybody's interconnected. Now, they're all terrified and they're not saying a word. That's another reason why aren't Australians waking up? Oh, they're awake. They know it's coming. And this massive proportion of the population are actually Masons, and they know. In fact, I was made privy to a conversation between a couple of highly placed Sydney identities, let's say, professionals. One knew what was coming down and the other one didn't. And I was watching this conversation, and one seemed detached almost because he knew there was nothing he could do about it and he was going to go down hard. And the other one was a judicial individual and was complaining, why do I have to retire now? I don't have to retire until I'm 75 or 70, whatever it is. I'm supposed to have another 5 years. I don't understand why I have to retire. I've done everything I was required to do. I paid my dues. I'm waiting for my payback. And now you're telling me that I have to retire early? And the guy that knew what was happening just waved off, pretended he knew nothing about what was being discussed. And the other guy, his whole world, inexplicably, all the rules that he has applied, all the dirty stuff he has done over decades isn't paying off anymore. And so there is a layer still to be cleaned out, without a doubt, certainly here in Oz. But there are just two more layers of the actual operation. So it's like any show. You've got demographic segments, 18 to 25-year-olds, the 25 to the 35-year-olds, the self-funded retirees, the left-handed whale-saving basket weavers. They're all trying to talk to different people simultaneously. And so, sometimes I'll actually look at the screen and I'll let out with a bit of salty language. And my wife looks at me and says, "Darling, it's a show. That's not for you." Oh, okay, I'll settle down. I won't pay any more attention. So yeah, no, it's a really good question because it's why won't they wake up? A bunch of reasons, but it's all moving inexorably towards its final conclusion, and eventually it'll tip. It'll just tip. We haven't reached that center. We haven't moved the center of gravity just enough just yet, but it's coming.
Well, it's funny because when I look at it, I mean, look, you guys are both special forces. Okay, you both have a keen eye for, where's Waldo? For when things, what doesn't belong and why. But for me, I mean, I was never special forces. I was never in the military. I was never a police officer or anything else. But just look at the individual himself. Okay? This is a guy who walks around almost dragging his knapsack, which allegedly has pipe bombs in it. There's a disaster looking for a place to happen to begin with. He waves to the cops going by. There were more than a few French fries missing from this Happy Meal. And that's the first thing that occurs to me. Is this somebody who's going to be sitting around making and distributing pipe bombs to two key locations on January 6th? But again, where are my people doing this investigation? And why did it take 4 years? And that's the key thing that's gnawing away at me. Everybody's got the ability to do this. Everybody's got the chance to do it. But one of the things that I was explaining to somebody yesterday when we were talking about with the mainstream media, and especially with the local stations, network stations have the ability to do what they call long form stories. And if they come up with an idea for a story, they could take 2, 3, 4 weeks, put it together and make it as beautiful as they want, have catering trucks come and, cater for them while they're shooting whatever they've got. In local news, it's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You get sent out to the story, you get it, you shoot it, and you put it out. But since big business took over the media and they came to the realization that, well, you know what? We've got the reporters here. We've got the writers and the producers here. We've got the engineers here. They're getting paid. Why don't we put on a couple of more news shows? So it costs them nothing to put on another news show. If they sell one commercial, they're ahead of the game. But if you get sent out to a story, and let's say for argument's sake, it's the lead of the 4 o'clock show, and they first send you there at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You're in New York City. I don't care if you got to go around the corner to get from point A to point B. You just ain't doing it in the wink of an eye. It's not happening. Then you got to get there and try and find stuff to shoot, find people for sound bites and this and that and the other, and put together a story. What the hell are you going to put together in 2.5, 3 hours that's going to be viable journalism? And this is the problem when you get a story like this or a bunch of the other ones that we're going to talk about tonight. Why are people still watching them? Why are they so glued? No offense, because there's only one of us here right now that's like that, but why are they so glued to the guy in the shirt and tie sitting in front of the camera and believing everything that he says? I don't get it. What do you guys think?
Can I venture an opinion?
Absolutely.
Okay. First of all, the why are they watching? Why are they watching? There's a psychological aspect to this, the brainwash. We get it, but there's also a physiological, biological aspect, which is this: if you get a troop of monkeys, and there's the alpha male, the traditional alpha male that everyone sits back and respects. Now, if you get a photograph of that alpha male, stick it on the wall, and get the alpha male out of the cage, guess what the other monkeys do? They stare at the picture. There is that is the sort of the foundational entry level. Why do we look at the big man? Because it's built into us. Why? Because if you look at us as an evolution in an evolutionary sense, in terms of what traits optimize survival in a situation, strong leadership is one of them. So those that tend to follow the strong leader as a group, because humans and monkeys, we're not the fastest. We don't have, well, monkeys have big fangs, but you get my drift. They're small, they're nimble, they're quick, they cooperate, they think, and that's why they survive as a species. That's why humans survive, because we're intelligent, we cooperate. We can't run fast, we don't have big fangs, we don't have claws, and we don't have protective skin, which is very weak. And so in the Homo sapiens is the highest level of monkey on the planet, let's say. That predisposition to follow strong leadership is a survival characteristic in a mob. And so that's just built into us. You follow the guy that looks like he's going to get us.
Whoop. How about you, Michael? Well, he's spinning in Oz. Michael, what do you think on that? Can you hear me? All right.
I'm not hearing you again.
Oh, again? Okay. Rick is back. Why don't you bow out again and come back in? I don't know what's going on there.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can see and hear you.
Yeah, we see and hear you, but Michael can't hear me again. So do me a favor and just tell him.
So on the I don't know if can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Right. So on the so I was in Djibouti, and we're training the Djiboutians. I was in SEAL teams, and so every morning we get these French rolls, long rolls, and it was a French colony at one time, so they were still doing French breds. So we had them in the morning, and we'd take them out to this one area where the monkeys would gather, wild monkeys, like we're talking about. And there was an alpha male. The alpha male would sit on this little mound, and all of the other monkeys would sit around, and they'd look at the alpha male, and he'd go like to one of them, and he'd nod his head, and they come and take the bread out of her hand. So he's in complete control. And we saw this one monkey that was dragging around this dead baby. And we asked one of the guys we're working with, he's like, what's going on with that? And he said that the female is being punished because she didn't take care of the baby. So the alpha male is making her carry the dead baby around as punishment. So we see that a lot of times with a lot of our information that comes through. It's like they're punishing us and controlling us because they want us to be and act a certain way. And like Riccardo was talking about, we look to the alpha male. So who are we allowing to be our alpha male is where we're at. Is it Trump? Is it Biden? I say that wasn't Biden, but who is it? You know, is it the deep state guy, or is it the guy that's about truth? So that's where I think we are at currently, trying to wake those people up that are listening to the bad alpha monkey, and trying to get them to listen to someone with common sense and that's trying to bring truth and trying to wake everybody up.
See, but now here we are with that problem.
I'm going to exit and come back in because I can't hear you, Mark.
Okay. So here we are with that problem, which is the simple fact that you've got people who get it. And this kind of relates to your military experience. You've got people who get it. A lot of people who are awake understand not just the fact that there's something wrong and that it needs to be fixed, but they know what's going on. And you got the people 180 degrees away from that who don't have a clue as to what's going on yet. There he is. Oh, whoop, there you go. You hear us now?
I got you.
Okay. So what I was just saying is you have, looking at this from a military standpoint, you've got the people who know that there's a problem, people who are awake and know there's a problem, needs to be fixed, and they know what's going on in the process of trying to fix it. And though they're not in a real battle, they are battle fatigued. It's been going on a while. Mm-hmm. Then you got the people who are 180 degrees out of phase from that, who, understand nothing but orange man bad and where we have to move on from there, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, you got the people in the middle. Now, the military runs on strict rules and codes and following orders, et cetera, et cetera. But how long does either the commander-in-chief or any of the military leaders carry this on before they say, cut bait and run, and the people who fall behind? Because I think, and again, I want your opinion on this, I think we're way past the point of having to worry about civil war.
Yeah, I haven't seen Civil War, and people have asked me this for like over 5 years now. Do you see Civil War coming? I said no. I see conflict in big cities because that's where a lot of the leftist, Marxist, communists have gathered, and they've corrupted a lot. Like we're talking the monkey mind for a lot of people there. It's going to be very challenging to get those people to break free, and they'll probably fight physically. And
not just to interrupt you for a second, Michael.
Yep.
Don't you think that that's also part of the op?
Oh yeah.
And that's why you've got all the troops in the major cities kind of going, come on.
I think you're nailing it, Mark. And I think it's a brilliant move by the Trump team to be proactive, to actually get in there before it starts to get crazy. I always thought they just cordon those cities off and just let them, go to waste and go in and try and rescue as many people as possible. But we're doing it proactively. We're actually in there right now. So I think that's your great insight. It's, preemptively going in and starting to take down some of these bad operatives that are already in there. The immigration. So I've seen a lot of the video of where they go in and they're like hitting some of the corrupt gangs, cartels and so forth. And I'm like, that looks like tier 1 guys. So, I used to train when I was in tier 1, SEAL Team 6, we used to train at big cities. And that was a long time ago. And I know those guys kept it up. So I'm seeing there's preemptive strikes that are coming from, the good guy military, taking out the bad guys. The real bad operators are probably going to coordinate and, start some of the real bad actions. And I don't think it's like just illegal immigrants. I think we got Chinese. I think we got, all kinds of crazy people in here. I think it goes all the way back to Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was selling nuclear secrets to the Chinese for money. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be resolved going forward.
Now, how would you, Rick, when it comes not just to, I'm sure, make a kind of a strange analogy here, but I'm sure, in private moments when nobody's around, the president's probably standing in the bathroom or in a closet going, doing that famous line from Titanic, "King of the world, I'm king of the world, ma, king of the world." And just, but we know that control is there globally. We know we're watching a movie, but how much of it, each country is structured differently. We know the problems. As bad as we think that we have it, I know you guys have it worse. Where do we move with that? Where do you guys move with that?
Yeah, you've nailed. You've nailed it. And just to move to segue from the last bit, I agree. The time for civil war's come and gone. A couple of reasons for that. The people with weapons are more disciplined and more intelligent than your average lunatic out there. You've got your Second Amendment people. These are good people. You've got your militias in their compounds. They are not interested in civil war. They're after protecting their rights, and they're quite happy to sit back in their compounds and wait for whoever comes for them. But if nobody comes for them, and certainly DJT and the people aren't coming for the militias because they're just exercising their constitutional rights. So what's left? You've got the ill-disciplined idiots in the middle. And because the message has been out there from all of us, no, the kinetic side is not our business. That's somebody else. They're taking care of it. You sit back quietly and relax. And same in Australia. We've got, no shortage of people that have managed, what did they do? They lost their rifles off the back of the boat when the guns were collected from everybody. They dropped off the back of the utility van and disappeared in the dust, so to speak. So it's not to say that there aren't weapons out there, but the Australians are equally intelligent. They sit back and wait. Now, Mike and I both know how easy it would be to cause massive chaos if you had someone who knew how to run the show. How quickly you could literally bring the black hats to a physical standstill, but that's not enough. To immobilize the nation's one thing, and that's great, but then to try to take control and advance an agenda, that's a separate matter. Just nobody's got the skill nor the manpower, the resources to do that. And the people know that. And so I don't think there's going to be civil war. I agree with Mike. It's going to be localized. The really bad guys are being taken out already, largely. And there might be a few low-level fools that think they can try something, and there might be shots exchanged. But it would have been hilarious had the left seriously tried to provoke a civil war. I shouldn't laugh because it'd be tragic, but it'd be over in a week. Particularly down south, where a comedian said there'd be nothing but beer cans and shotgun shells and a bunch of good old boys going, yeah! There'd be nothing left for the Marines to do by the time they got there. I mean, smart move on the part of the left not to actually go kinetic too soon. It would have been over a lot quicker. Anyway, so there's that part. But in terms of how far does this get pushed, it's a bit like the weather. And I've used this analogy, and it's an apt one. You don't invade Russia in winter. A couple of corporals tried that, and it didn't quite work out for them. Now, so there's a season to things. Timing timing's critical, particularly in special ops when you don't have a lot of resources and you've got either very narrow windows of opportunity, or you've just got to pick the right time, because too soon is not as bad as too late. And so timing's critical. And I've mentioned it a couple of times. And this is one that's basically imposed upon DJT and his team. He's got the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It's a hugely significant day. I mean, if this was 24, he'd have 2 years to go, but he doesn't. He's only got a little over 6 months to wrap this thing up. So in terms of timing, I can see them fitting in most of what they need to do, into Q1 next year. Q2, it'll still be a bit untidy. But as I said, the people need a legitimate reason to celebrate. They don't want a bittersweet 250th anniversary, because this is not just the Independence Day for the United States. This is going to be remembered as the Independence Day for the world. I mean it. This is, if anybody isn't getting shivers up their spine with the knowledge that we are alive and active at this point in history, this will be spoken about forever. It's bigger than the transition from the Roman Empire, from the Republic to the emperors. This is the other way around. It's from the emperors to the Republic. That's how critical this is. And the time frame is not dissimilar, because civilizations tend to last about a quarter of a millennium, 250 years, and then they crash and burn. Roman Empire, you name it, globally, there's this pattern. Well, that's what's happened here. You've had the first 250 years of the US, and now, by all other metrics, US should be going down, but it's not. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for it. That's an entirely different show in 73 parts. But the point is now it's turning around, and the US is going to climb to a higher level than ever before. But more importantly, they're going to bring the rest of us with them, and at the rate that we can accommodate the growth. Does that make sense? You mentioned that different countries are in different places. I'm hoping that Australia, for all of its deficiencies, and they are epic deficiencies, we can drag the people up quicker and get them fast. We certainly have advantages. We're Western civilization. We've got a Christian foundation to our thinking and our law. We've got an intelligent, well-educated workforce ready to step forward. Other countries, they're carrying a burden, but that's okay. That doesn't really matter, as long as by that stage. So how long? How long is this going to take? They will go when they need to go, regardless of the numbers. That's what's going to happen. But I think the numbers will be with them. I think the numbers are looking good at this stage. We're certainly getting a lot more waking up in Oz. It doesn't mean they're active. They're not active. Now they're awake. They're saying something's not right. That's why the Masons here, and we use that as a bit of a metric here, they're shutting down Masonic lodges everywhere. Masonic lodges are burning down. They are hiding. Yeah. And so that's a way that we can see the move is happening. People aren't joining up to A1, and my people say to me, we put out 4,000 leaflets last week and we got nothing. I said, no, you did exactly what you got to keep doing. Just keep putting it out there, so they know somebody is here. It's that ability to, going back to the monkey, the boss monkey, it's hard to overcome that. And that's why we have to elevate ourselves above our natural inclinations to our divine inclinations. This is that transition up the ladder to a divine life. And you can define that any way you want to. Because all of a sudden we have to resist that natural instinct, animal instinct, to respond in particular ways. Turn the other cheek is the classic example of that. There's nothing natural about turning the other cheek. But that's as a philosophy that enters our heads. And so we're going to elevate ourselves above those instincts and elevate ourselves above the natural predisposition to stare at the alpha male. Now, this is when I speak to the A1 people, and it's an apt point to make for the rest of the planet. The method we're going to achieve what we want to achieve is we're going to we create a moral political movement which empowers each individual to reach their highest individual standard level, so we can all participate in the reformation of the country. And that's tough. That Mike knows. Mike's been into training, and we know what men and women can do. They have no clue. But given the right approach, the right techniques, the right training, the right circumstances, you name it, all the little subtle things that we do as trainers, and especially, Mark, we spend most of our time training. That's what we spend most of our time doing, educating and training. And occasionally something happens, you race off and don't, you come back and train some more. But the point is here, within A1, the comments coming around, I made a statement many years ago. You're going to have to become somebody you've never been before by doing things you've never done before. And that sounded like a nice one-liner about 5-6 years ago when we kicked this thing off. we're now hearing it come back, and people are saying in the on our internal online chat, we've got our own system so we can talk to each other without being interfered with. And the number of people are coming back saying, I couldn't believe it. 5 years ago, if you told me I was a support group leader running political discussions and doing all the things they've been doing, said I wouldn't believe it. And these are people, young, old, respected individuals who have finished their career, and all of a sudden they've started something new. They are literally becoming someone they've never been before by doing things they've never done before. And this is another long answer to your question. This is what we need to do as we move forward. We've got to bring everybody with us. The old model is gone. And DJT's actually said it. I mean, we can talk about this later if you want to. This document came out, and this is probably the most important piece of communication out of the White House in years. And I mean that quite sincerely, the national security strategy. And everyone should go online and just have a look at it. It's only 30 plus odd pages. But it lays out exactly what DJT wants to do and how he wants to do it. And it's exactly that. For example, I'll give you one example. Dominance of the planet by one superpower is antithetical to the American way of living. Similarly, they're not going to allow anybody else to do it. Now, that's just extraordinary. What civilization in history has ever said, hey, let's share that sandpit together? Think about that. Nobody, no time ever said, hey, no problem, let's all work together. That's exactly what we're doing on an individual level, and we have to do it on a planetary level. And so this elevation above our animal instincts into a more divine way of living will be led by those civilizations that are already leaning heavily into that way of life. And then we can bring along those behind us who have got a little bit further to go up this particular journey. So again, long answer to a short question. I'm sorry I waxed lyrical a little long, but up to end of quarter one, March next year, it's already getting ugly if you're paying attention. And the ones they say, hey, Bosi, you said that it'd be pretty sad by Christmas, but pretty happy as well. And I'm going, it is. You're just not paying attention. It's miserable for some, and it's bloody brilliant for others. But it's going to get really untidy. You're going to be think of any way that you can be uncomfortable, you will be. But then as we ease into come to the middle of the year, end of quarter two, the people will, from all around the world, you watch it, it'll be, I'm glad I'm alive at this time in history. I can tell you, whatever cock-ups I made up in my past, in my youth, I'm glad I got to where I am, because I wouldn't change a thing. We're about to enter the most extraordinary time in human history.
It's not only great to be alive, it's great to be awake for it. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing.
Awake, yes.
Both of you guys just, because the tangent you just went off on, you're making me skip one of the things I was going to do, but it so nicely segues into where I want to go here. Because one of the issues that's been a pet peeve of mine, one of the things that I've said from the get-go with this, is if this venture that we're on, this global venture that we're on, is going to have legs, if it's going to have longevity, somehow or another we got to change human nature. Because I live my life by the golden rule. I always say that, while there'll always be a prick in the crowd, 99.9% of the time, what you give, you will get back in spades. But there's always going to be that prick.
Yep.
It needs to be, we know the group that's active in globally making this happen and globally making the change happen. But everybody has to get involved. And while I sit, from what I did for a living and this and that and the other, I see and I've seen how, more than anything, trapped for time people are. However, when I get into the fact, where is it? Where did I put it? When I get into the fact of people doing their part. Now, everybody out there, and you guys also are well acquainted with our good buddy Derek. And one thing that Derek puts out there, I don't care if you like the way he speaks, kind of same thing as the president. I don't care if you like the way he speaks or anything else. He's bringing facts to the table. And he's not saying, buy this. He's not saying, trust me. It's in black and white. Everybody sits and they run to this damn thing. There we go. This damn thing. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Looking at TikTok videos. Looking where to buy things for the holidays. But God forbid they should waste a few minutes going to government websites. Our governments. The stuff is online, for God's sake. It's right there. Call up the documents and go, oh, wow, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's fact. And we all have them in our families. We all have them as friends. But where? I mean, we'll be coming up on the 4th of July in 7 months, but there are a whole hell of a lot of people I'd like to take a couple of M80s and stick up their butts and see if they get out of the chair then, because something's got to give. So being that this is also readily available, again, where do we go? How do we light that firecracker? How do we show from country to country to country, not just that we're building, we've got everybody playing in the sandbox together and cleaning the sandbox together, because it's got to be clean before everybody can go play in it. How do we get these stragglers off their butts to go? And before I get you to answer, I'm gonna head all of my people off of the pass, because every time I say something like this, I get 1,500 comments saying, well, I do this, and you shouldn't be saying that, nobody's getting off their. Yes, I'm addressing the general public of the world, not you couple of people who are getting off their asses and do something. So that being said.
So when I look at, the amount of people that are going into the military here in the United States is at a record. So we've looked at World War II, the greatest generation. I think we have the greatest generation times 10 coming up. I think that everyone realizes who the real enemy is. We did not know who it was in World War II. We know now. So they are trembling. I promise you, Riccardo's talking about Masonic lodges being burned. They're burning here in America too. You look it up. It's been going on for years. So people are waking up. They're seeing the problem. They see the problem people. I've thought, why don't a group of us just get together and quietly start to take the problem out of, it's like, I think maybe that's what the military is doing. So, I start to see that. But, Riccardo had an amazing show. He's kind of mentioning that with Rob. I highly recommend everybody go over and watch that Australia One Rumble, the show they did with Rob. Rob named names. And I've had many people for the last 5 years that have done everything but name names. They've said Masonic lodges. They have said, the hospitals are involved. The police are involved. The judges are involved, all these different things, and horrific child abuse, everywhere. But still people just do not want to hear it. So I think we're at that stage where, we have incredibly brave people that are coming out finally and naming names. And that's what, happened with Riccardo and Rob on his show. He named names. We need more of that. He's like, and Riccardo's like, don't you feel, that there's a threat for you? He's like, they are nothing to me. They are nothing to me. They're below me. And that's the way we have to start to think about these people. They are below us. What's the option? You can do nothing and they're going to destroy you, kill you, make you a slave, or you can start to push back and start to take them out, and we can gain our freedom and we can save our children. I think that's where we're moving.
But don't you also run into the situation, another movie reference, you cut off one head and two more pop up. And that's the problem of, putting down the roach spray. You could go and you get rid of some of them, But then there are also some of them, the ones who amassed the money and who masterminded some of this stuff. A lot of them have been taken out, but a lot of the underlings learned enough to have the money, sit back nice and quiet, and just be patient.
Well, they'll do that. I promise you they will do that. When this is all done, we're looking at, we forecast about 100 years before we get the last of the Masonic filth, because they're past masters of climbing back under their rocks and waiting. And they'll look after each other, and they'll wait, because this has been going on for a long time. But they will go down, because this time, for the first time in history, it's all catalogued, it's all filed, it's available. What did you send? To whom did you send it? Etc. So it'll just take time to actually clean out the termite nest. So there's that part. There's also, you mentioned human nature and the challenge of getting people to actually have a look at this. I think we're going to be surprised. Well, not men as old as us, because we've been around a long time. We saw a different world that was a whole lot nicer than now. I mean, I'm still flabbergasted that you've got parents allowing somebody to cut off their daughter's breast or their son's penis. You're like, really? You think that's a good idea? But we're going to see human nature for real for the first time in most people's lives. What do I mean by that? Well, the real human nature has been demoralized, brainwashed, distorted, held down for a long time. So what people today probably believe is that, and it's been said, that humans are a cancer on the planet, and Gaia would be better off if we all just sucked on a 12 gauge, and then the planet could get on with existing. But that's nowhere near the truth, because as a species, and again, if you just look at the way any species grows, it's the classic bell curve. You got the doves at one end, you got the hawks at the other. And if you kill all the doves, guess what? The whole species shifts and you end up with more doves and hawks again. There is a balance. What's happened is that the human species has been so demoralized, so put upon, that we have, I guess, defaulted to our less edifying capabilities, which means hiding, running away, betraying, you name it. That's because evil has had, and I think it's David Icke's analogy, it's a beach ball at the beach. You push the beach ball under the water. It takes a massive effort to keep it down there. But once you take your hand away, it flies back to the surface. That's what we're going to see in human nature, because human nature is glorious. It's beautiful. It has that touch of the divine. It really does. And so we're going to see that for the first time. So when we say we've got to change human nature, I hear alarm bells, because that's what the communists want. Let's kill enough people till we're left with the perfect man and woman. No, not good. Been tried. In the 20th century alone, in excess of 100 million were killed. And since Muhammad allegedly turned up at 635 AD, 270 million have died at the swords of the Muslims. So how about we not try to perfect human nature? Take God's gift, let it go in its full blossom, and away you go. And people say, well, give me some hard examples of that. I say, sure. In Australia, 90% of the recidivist criminals incarcerated were abused as children. Think about that. So you're always going to have, as you said, Mick, Mark, you're always going to have those pests that are just pests, because that's part of the bell curve. You're going to have some geniuses, you're going to have something else at the other end. But 90% of the recidivists were abused as children. We have one of our great classic Australian characters, and he was brutally raped. And so he just became a hitman. He killed somebody because, you've got money and I want it. He only killed drug dealers and bad people, which is the funny part. But that's where it comes from. So again, you take down the Masonic filth, and pedophilia and child rape is key to that organization. But you take out the systematic pedophilia out of a country, and now we're going to have young boys and young women growing up to be young boys, young women, where they are respectful, where they are brave, where they are protective, all those innate qualities that we have. So that's point number one. We are going to see human nature in full flower. No, not perfect, not by a long shot, not supposed to be, but much better than it was. Then we're going to see, going back to the alpha monkey. Again, we're dealing with this. We're like an amphibian, and like this is C.S. Lewis said this. Humans are like amphibians. They're part aquatic animals and part land animals. We're part animal, we're part divine, and it's a struggle between the two. And we're not even animal. We're something worse as a result of the efforts of evil to suppress our nature, because animals don't do what we do. Most animals fight, and when one surrenders, it's over. someone challenges the alpha male lion. If he wins, takes over, and the old guy wanders off and dies. If he loses, he waits a couple of seasons and comes back again later. But very few creatures fight to the death. Monkeys do, but very few creatures do. So we're worse than animal as a result of this evil that's been forced upon us. So what's going to happen? In the old days, the alpha male was dad, and mum was the alpha female, and the children, they were their first heroes. And so they're defaulting to their parents for guidance. So what did evil do? They made life so difficult that both mum and dad have to work. They send their kids off to some childcare center. So there is no mum and dad anymore. So who takes the place of the alpha male? Dumbledore out of Hogwarts or somebody like that. No parents in Hogwarts in the entire series. Let's remove the parents, put the children in terrifying situations. If you're a child, if you watch those movies, it's terrifying. And so they've replaced the original alpha male, alpha female with movie stars, sports stars, anybody but the real parent. So that's why the natural family was such a key target for evil. They had to destroy the natural family. They had to destroy the biological link within that family, because once again, if you take the biological male out of a family, it doesn't matter how good the stepfather is. This is not beating up on stepdads. They're brilliant. Don't get me wrong. But you immediately have a massive spike in early sexual activity by girls. You have an early spike of dangerous and illegal behavior by boys. They end up in prison because dad's not there to put his foot down. And ladies, I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. The data is out there. You need a biological dad in the house. You need the biological mum. Now, what's interesting about all of that waffle that I've been talking about, that sounds great. Guess what DJT has put in his national security strategy as the very foundational part. The paper was written by a genius guy. I can't remember his name now. But the whole paper is very well written. I got a few corrections for him, but I'll speak to him privately on that. But as he weaves his way down, at the very bottom, the centerpiece of national security for the United States is, guess what? Natural families, mum and dad, and strong families and strong children. That's it. And it was a joy to read this. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, I cannot recommend this enough. Go online, go to the White House, get a copy of this, read it. It's easy. I'll be doing a couple of shows online. I'm going to go through a detailed one. It's like basically a lesson for those who've got time to read it themselves. They can listen, and I'll do a compressed one for people who can listen when they don't have even time to listen to the long form video. This is so foundationally important. It explains exactly what they're going to do, why they're going to do it, how they're going to do it. And what's the first rule of any game? Learn the rules of the game. These are the rules for the new world. Not the one they ordered, but the one we want. And once people get this into their head, you can't complain that you didn't know, because he's telling us. But it's brilliant the way they've actually woven it all the way down to the cultural and spiritual foundation of the nation. And for that, you need mum and dad raising good children. And we don't need to change human nature. We just need to let it blossom in the best of environments, rather than the horrible place that the world has been courtesy of evil for the last many, certainly decades, if not centuries.
Well, it's funny that you brought that up, and stated it quite eloquently. We grew up in a different era. Michael, I think you're probably the baby of the group, but we grew up in a much different era where you did, no matter what the situation was, you always had the opportunity of one parent, usually the father, working, being able to keep a roof over your head, food on your table, clothes on your back, send you to college if you were willing to go, and they could still retire and have a life after that until they were gone. But as time went on, one of the big things, which is, it's right there at the bottom of the screen, it's right there behind me, that was lost, was respect. And not just respect for each other, but respect for yourself. And that was sorely lost in society globally. And so as they continued using the Ginsu knife to divide and conquer us in so many ways, and that's one of the biggest parts, and that's why I sometimes call the mainstream media the most important tool in the tool shed of the black hats. They found all the different ways to divide, conquer, and distract, and turn us not into thinking rational people, but the absentee landlords that we became, and allowing, we're the CEOs, CFOs, and everything else of this corporation. And yet we allowed our employees to bankrupt our corporation. And what did we do? We sat back and we watched, because while we couldn't go to the polls on election day and vote once and have the decision made that day, we could stand outside the Apple store in the cold and the rain and the snow and everything else for 5 days, waiting for the next iPhone, or outside waiting for the next PlayStation or whatever. And this is the moral bankruptcy that's happened, not just in the United States, but globally. I mean, one of my favorite stories, and it wasn't long before I retired. I can't even tell you who it was, because I don't pay attention to quote unquote stars anymore. But they had me over by Radio City, and it was a miserable day, but it was around Christmas time. And they wanted to show how busy the traffic was and the streets were. And I see, and it's a miserable day. It's drizzling, it's cold. And there's a block and a half of kids between the metal barricades, sitting on the ground. So I went and I shot what I had to shoot, and I came back and said, "What are you doing?" "Oh, so-and-so is going to be on Saturday Night Live tomorrow." And it wasn't anything I could do other than shake my head and walk away. But this is the denigration of society that we've watched. And to me personally, I always look back to 1980, when Reagan took over and literally created the me generation. And that's when you had all the false bonds and all it was our first crash. And from that point on, once everybody became focused on me, everything else was easy. And there's so much that's been missed because of it. And I know that's, again, not just here. That is a global initiative, and only enables evil to get stronger. So, go ahead, Mike. Are you going to say something?
Yeah. So, Trump is, tearing down that system. The, Federal Reserve probably is going to be gone soon. They're the ones manipulating the market to cause a lot of these problems. Doing away with the IRS, so that'll be more, because he's already saying that you're going to have more money in your pocket. Those Social Security is no longer taxed on January 1st. People that are earning, tips and so forth, no longer going to be taxed. So you're going to see more money going into people's pockets. He's talking about a new 401k that probably replace the Social Security system, where people, when they retire, they'll have millions of dollars in their accounts. So these are the things we're starting to see that are starting to move in that direction. I see these shows all the time. I see it in my chats, unfortunately, because I'll talk about certain things. I talked about a show the other night, how this is going to continue. They're going to continue to come after Trump, just like they did in his first administration, trying to tear him down with like the boats. So like what we killed terrorists. It's like you guys are like having a problem with that. So it's going to be a constant fighting him, and so many people came in. They were like just so disgusted. It's like I'm working 3 jobs. I'm like 70 years old. I had to come out of retirement. I'm like, oh my God. And all these different people. And I saw this one person, 88 years old, working at Walmart. And this guy comes up to him and he was talking to him and he's like, yeah, General Motors, they did away with my retirement, did away with my plan for medical benefits. My wife got sick, had to sell the house. They had paid for their house. He had to sell the house. He's almost living homeless, and so people donated like $1.2 million to him. So now he's going to get a nice home, have something for his kids, because he's 88. How much longer he's going to be here, But this is where we're at right now. And I think people are seeing this and they're getting involved, because there was a lot of young people, like you're talking about, got involved. And one guy that I was like in his 20s that, started a GoFundMe, and people just came in like crazy, 5, 10, 15, whatever dollars on a massive scale, and helped this guy out. Why are we helping, an elderly man like that? He should have millions of dollars, which he would have if the system hadn't, destroyed him. If, General Motors, the CEOs of General Motors, hadn't destroyed their company on purpose. They had a plan for that, and did away with the pensions and everything. That's not just General Motors, but many of these corporations. So turning this around is an educational process as well, because people are stuck. We're talking about the monkey stuff, and people are stuck in this monkey mind. They've been conditioned to believe that that's the way it is. You retire, you're promised you're going to have, retirement for life after you put your money into the system for all this time, and then you retire, and seniors are barely getting it. And they're all alone. It's like, they're if their mate dies, they're like, it's crazy. I saw this happen to both my parents. It was like, if I hadn't been there with extra income, it would have been very tragic, very unfortunate for both of them. So, and that was 10, 15 years ago, 15 years for my dad, and then 10 years ago for my mom. So it's a problem that we have to fix, and people are waking up to it on a massive scale. So Mark, great insights on that. It's, if we continue the path we're on, we're going to we're destructing, but we're not. We're waking up. I think we're waking up on a massive scale. And, the shows like this, because, you got like almost 3,000 people watching you right now. That's incredible. Good job. So if you have more people that are getting involved, you're going to see an awakening process, because we're sharing this information. We're no longer the, satanic media anymore, like you were part of. You're like broke away from it. Now here you have like the magnificent, truth telling that's going on right now. It's absolutely an incredible time to be alive, but there is a process to breaking free, and that's going to be a little bit difficult for people. And for some people, it's going to be extremely difficult. And for some people, it's not going to happen. And that's going to be very tragic for them. So that's where we're at. It's happened many times before, like Riccardo was talking about. We're in a cycle, and we're at the end of a cycle. And every time those cycles end, there's violence, always violence.
Well, Rick, humor me with this, because again, this is a global initiative, because it is a global problem. It wasn't just a matter of 46 years in the mainstream media. It was 46 years in corporate America. There, again, it's not just America, it's global. But the things that I found over the course of the years, now when I started at ABC, it was American Broadcasting Companies. 1985 was taken over by a company called Capital Cities. 1995, it was bought up by by the Disney company. And when you sit and you watch, now for my 46 years in the business, I was in unions for 46 years. And you sit and you watch as corporation has its CEO, has its board. Now the board's got to get paid, even though these people do zip for the company. Board's got to get paid, but the CEO on an annual basis will go and ramp up his salary and his stock options by the mega millions. And then as the workers come due for their raises, well, we're kind of having a bad year, this, that, you look at the figures on this set of books, and, we can't afford to give you any more than 2%. Pardon my French, you just raised your fucking salary by about 40%, and you can't even give us the cost of living. And this is what goes on. This is probably what happened with that guy, with GM. This is what happens with people all across. There is no parity. And one of the greatest parasites in the business world, which is a big part of where we all are now, are the insurance companies. The reason that the cost of medical care is so high is because you can't practice medicine without malpractice insurance. Now, I've seen some doctors where that's a pretty important factor because they suck. But for the rest of them, when you have these exorbitant fees to pay for malpractice insurance, well, that's got to get passed on somewhere. So it gets passed on to the consumer. Now, in turn, not only is the insurance company making a fortune on the malpractice insurance, then they're making a fortune on your health insurance. And my belief for a long time has been health insurance should be a given. You're making money on mandatory auto insurance, mandatory if you have a mortgage, homeowners insurance. Usually if you have homeowners insurance, because these jackals out there are constantly advertising, if you had a slip and fall accident on Mike Jaco's property, call us, we'll get you money. Now you've got to have an umbrella policy on top of your regular homeowners policy. And then you've got to have an insurance policy for this and an insurance policy for that. And they're all because the insurance lobbies have paid for the campaigns of the people who make the laws. They're all mandatory to we the people. So they're like the major jackals in this. And health is, I believe, one of our God-given rights, one of the first items in the Bill of Rights. Where do we start using these people for skeet? And when do we go and put a halt to this and put things in their proper place?
There's that's a large question. There are legislative aspects to it, there are regulatory aspects to it, and then there are moral aspects to it. We can't change human nature, so let's not try. But let's assume, let's examine just a couple of examples. Now, I know that socialized health in the US is like having Karl Marx knocking on your door, and so I agree, it's a problem. It really is, because if you're not paying for it, then you don't value it. I get that. However, when you put a profit motive behind illness, that's what you're going to get. So I hate to say it, there's a third way here. It's not private health, entirely private health insurance, nor is it entirely public health insurance, because both are roads to oblivion. So there has to be an intelligent way where we can transition from where we are to something else. Now, an element of that something else, for example, would be the destruction of big pharma, the promotion of wellness rather than illness focus on health, which will reduce the demand on the system dramatically. Then you've got aspects like the malpractice. What's the best place to, if you want to go die somewhere, just go to hospital, because the numbers are just appalling. Nobody's held to account. Why? Because the system doesn't want to hold them to account. Why? Because the system is controlled by evil. Fill in the blank what evil you want to get. Why are the insurance companies paying for the campaigns for politicians? They shouldn't. There's a policy here that says unless you're a real living human, you can't donate money. And if you do, it's got to be in real time and you can see exactly where every cent came from. So if Bill Gates, the billionaire, wants to donate money, everyone's going to know exactly how much he donated. And there isn't this shell game of different companies donating different money. So you can't. There are practical solutions to undermine the existing system. The existing system isn't all that robust. It's kept in place by evil and corruption. And again, you're never going to get rid of that entirely. But if you look at each of this in progressively in turn, where the demand for whatever it is they want is reduced. For example, if we certainly one of our strategies is to repopulate rural Australia, and all those country towns that have collapsed while they shoved everybody into the cities because it was, more profitable for businesses to live there. We're going to repopulate the towns. What does that mean? It means decentralized everything. And again, the counties, when they are established, the laws that the counties can pass are bigger than just your local stuff, because we want the legislator right next door to the constituents, not in some distant capital. And so, again, this is the structural changes. This is a very big question. I spent a lot of time on this, making sure we understand the system sufficiently so we can establish one that just doesn't allow for that corruption, that centralization of power. Do we need a federal government? Of course we do, to do federal things, but other things, no. Get it down to the states, and let's have more states, and then get it down to the counties and have more counties. Did you know that we have one of the largest police forces in the world in New South Wales, one of our most populous states? Because around the world, you have sheriff's offices and much smaller groupings, but we have one New South Wales police commissioner who runs the entire New South Wales and Queensland and whatever. So if you're going to corruptly control the country, there's what, 6, 7, if you include the territories, 8 police commissioners that run the show. That's it. You control Australia, law and order. Now, who do you think controls them? The Masons. So when I say there are structural, legislative, regulatory, moral issues, there are many solutions to the problem. And this house of cards will come down so quickly. It just won't get up. Strong counties with real, and we might even introduce regions, for example. We want to minimize it, but we want to push as much power to the locals as possible so you don't have this terrible scene of some bereft father or mother smashing his hand on the table in front of a school board saying, "You destroyed my son. How dare you? Oh, you can't use bad language here. We're going to..." No, recall elections everywhere. It's going to be lumpy. It's going to be untidy, but people will learn there are consequences. There is only all of these issues. And I don't want to make it sound like it's simple. It's not simple to fix, but it's simple to understand. All of these issues are predicated on protection of corruption. That's it. That's all it is. The moment you give the power to the people, they're going to have to learn real quick, and it will be messy. Mistakes will be made, and I've told people in Australia this is what's going to be like. Because if you can't run a county, you can't run a region. If you can't run a region, you can't run a state. And if you can't run a state, you can't run a nation, a modern, complex, incredibly complex nation state. You can't do it. So we're going to have to learn. And when we can control counties, maybe, just maybe, the reins will be loosened a bit and we can start running regions. And we'll work our way up the ladder. So everything you say is, as I said, it's not incomprehensible. It can be fixed piece by piece by piece, but as long as we have this understanding that each part touches another part, and when we predicate every one of our policies and moves with the intact family as the centerpiece. If it's not good for the family, it's not good for the country, which is a bit of a adaptation of Marcus Aurelius, one of his meditations. If it's not good for the hive, it's not good for the bee. Well, vice versa. It's not good for the family, it's not good for the country. And so that's where we build up everything. So what's good for the country what's good for the family in terms of health? Well, not getting sick for starters. So instead of promoting 1,000 different drugs, how about we have government tested, so there's somebody held to account, government tested of all these health remedies that might just work. And I've been going through it like everybody else, like let's try clove oil, no problem. How come my mother's pasta always made my mother's pasta sauce always tasted great, and we as kids were healthy as? Well, let's have a look. It's got olive oil, that's good for you. It's got garlic, that's good for you. It's got onion, brilliant. It's got tomatoes, carrots, celery, brilliant. And then it's got cloves, cumin, nutmeg, oregano, or a little bit of basil maybe. And all these things that I've now, whenever I cook a meat sauce for my family, I know that's like it's a bomb of goodness for the family that keeps them fit and healthy. So once again, and it's not a small point. If it's good for the family, it's good for the country. If it's not good for the family, it's not good for the country. And that's the metric through we look at every possible law. Is it more efficient, more effective? Is it tidier? Is it cheaper? No. The family must be supported. And I'll give you an example I gave the other night. They get troubled youth out there and they take them away teach them, climbing and living in the bush and stuff like that. Great, except for one thing. You've taken boys away from their family and you've made the instructor the alpha monkey. No, it's not how you do it. And I had a group in country New South Wales saying, can you put together a program to get the boys out and teach them things and get them independent, strong, self-reliant, blah, blah. I said, yeah, absolutely. And when they saw it, they were shocked, because what I do is you've got to bring the dads or the mums in, you brief them, they actually do it the day before, and then they're the ones that brief their kids personally. So, little Jackie and Johnny, the 14-year-old, 12-year-old, go up to dad, and dad says, okay, today, situation. Here's the situation. Mission, we're going to do this. Execution, general outline, we're going to go there, we're going to do that and the other. Troops to task. Jaco, you're going to grab the ropes and the carabiners. Johnny, you grab the water and the food. And it's just a very simple military orders: situation, mission, execution, admin, log, command, and sig. It's really simple. But dad's now giving it, or mum's now giving it. And so by the end of the trip, you've got these kids that look at dad and go, you're a god. Now, once you've got that, you're now building the bricks that can build a house, that can build a nation. And it is so important. And that's why I was so thrilled to see in Trump's national security strategy the acknowledgement that at the very base, it's got to be the family. So of all the problems that people come up with you all the time, what about this? What about that? The prism I look through is immediately, what's good for the family? Well, they don't get sick, for starters. What about education? They need to know what they need to know. Who's going to teach them? Mum and dad. How do they do that? Homeschooling. How do they do that? We'll get the public broadcaster, all the pipelines for our broadcaster in Australia, which is just used as communist propaganda. And then we'll make available for homeschooling. If you want a homeschooling, great. If you don't want homeschooling, that's great too. But you can plug in on demand and get lessons at a preschool level, at a primary school level, kindergarten, primary school level, secondary school, university, and then adult education. So you can plug in and you can get yourself as qualified or as educated as you like. So some farmer is sitting on his Massey Ferguson, and he's plugging into what's happening in wherever's going on, and we're going to give them information. That's education. The kids learn to be moral, sovereign, self-reliant, understand the precepts of Christianity. They understand a Western civilization, which is their inheritance. They understand the constitutional republic. They understand the importance of being economically powerful, militarily intimidating, politically free, culturally vibrant, socially cohesive, all these things that we've built into our end state. You do that at an individual level. This country, Australia, is going to be glorious. I mean, I hope I live another 100 years, because I want to see this. This is fun. I mean, really, this is where this gets me going. It just gets my juices flowing. I can't wait. I love seeing, and Mike's probably the same. You take these kids or you take these people and you train them up and you see them take off on their own, and they're just someone they never were before. And you sit back with that satisfaction and go, wow, how cool is that? Look at that. Look at that young bloke. Look at him. It's just brilliant. And once we get that understanding that that's our job, grandfathers, fathers, and so on, and grandmothers and mothers, and so on, we create our families, we give them everything they need, and we're there to help them if they need it once they've head on their own. So again, all these problems are real. And forever they've been telling us they are intractable, they're unsolvable. Can't do it. Yeah, you can. With a will, we can do it, and we will do it. And now, thank God, we've got DJT and the White Hats setting the stage, setting the plan for the planet. And all we have to do, read the rules, play the game, and they're going to look back at, Mike was talking about the greatest generation. Man, they're going to look back at us and say, what a bunch of fools they were. Look what they allowed to happen. But thank God, somebody at the last minute fixed it. And look at us now. So I'm so optimistic about the future. Is there pain to come? Absolutely. A lot of sadness. I get it. but my eyes are firmly set on the future, and it is glorious.
Well, see, that's the whole thing. Let's take it back to the home front, Michael. Okay, where we know, especially in this country, because that's where we live. These are the people that we deal with. We unfortunately have given away the power of who decides what's good for the family. We've given away the power of who decides what's best for our kids. We have a society of people who, when you've got somebody like Robert Kennedy Jr., attorney, so he's not stupid. He's over 60, in phenomenal shape, and he's looking out for our health. He's trying to get the crap out of our foods. He's trying to get the crap out of our water and out of our air. And yet you have people fighting this. And again, it's a bang your head against the wall situation. We're saying, what is wrong with you? And unfortunately, the big thing, and I'm sure this is in Australia also, as well as every other country around the world, then it becomes the partisan game. And it's not because what he's saying is wrong, but he's working for the bad orange man. So we can't let anything go through that would benefit the bad orange man. And we sit and we play the game. We have politicians that are bought and sold by the highest bidder. And they're the ones who are funding the games. I always go back to this kid that I had on the show about 6 months ago, and another conspiracy theory. Nobody believed that there are people out there protesting and rioting for hire. And I had on this guy, Adam Swart, whose company is Crowds for Hire, or Crowds on Demand. Sorry. It's there. And yet we have so many people who sit and shake their heads and say, no, he shouldn't be allowed to do that. Why? What is wrong with Americans?
Nothing.
That's you,
They're
Mike.
fine.
Yeah, we're moving in the direction. Rick talked about the Marcus Aurelius. He was the last of the 5 good emperors. I think Trump is the beginning of the good emperors, if we want to look at it in that light. So we're moving in the opposite direction. We're no longer on a downtrend. We're in an uptrend. So that breaking of that cycle. Rick was also talking about, coming out. So this was JFK. Of course, they took him out because he had such great ideas. But JFK had the ideas of having an exceptionalism in sports and so forth. And there were like competitions and people were given awards and so forth. And Trump is talking about bringing that back. And that's the family line. The Kennedys, they've done really great things. If you give them the option of doing good, they'll do good. Ted Kennedy kind of was like in the wrong direction, but that's gone. And now we have the good guys that are in the Kennedy clan once again and moving in a good direction. So I went through a system. It was called Bud's Hell Week, SEAL training. That was incredible. It was like a lifelong dream for me to go through something extreme like that. I went back and I put guys through that, and I saw how incredible that was for transforming young men to be exceptional. I did that training on my own for many years. It was very, and I saw all the people that went through that went on and did incredible things in their community. So it is something that I think we're going to bring back. And I don't think I know we're moving that direction. The exceptionalism, the merit-based, profiles that we're going to start to see come back out again. you know, in business, in politics, and so forth. It's going to be quite amazing going forward. So yeah, I'm very like Riccardo. I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited about the future. I've been saying that for years, although I've been telling everybody, hey, we're going to go through some challenging times. But that's you know, that's what happened during World War II. Very challenging times. We're on World War II, you know, the mother of all wars going right now. It's worldwide on a level that's never been seen before. It's a takedown of the real control system, but it's going to take time. We'll have to you know, search for these people, like Riccardo was talking about, for many years, and I see that going forward.
Well, one of the things that that I wanted to talk about, and it's especially important to get both of your opinions on this because it directly relates to you both. Again, military men, you both special ops. And there's been a lot of, in the movie, there's been a lot of outward disdain and violence toward National Guard, toward federal agents, ICE agents in particular, for doing a job that Congress created them for. These same idiots that are encouraging people to take action against the ICE agents don't see, they must have Alzheimer's or something. I don't seem to remember the fact that they were the ones who created these people and created those positions to be out there upholding the law. But when it comes down to people being allowed to go and confront and physically attack these people. Now, you know, again, I wasn't in the military, but I know, me being me, if I had one of these loudmouth pissants in front of me, spouting off or spitting in my face or something, while you're standing there just holding the rifle, you don't have to fire a shot, but the butt of the rifle, one across the face, does a real good job. And somehow or another, we got to stop this. Somehow or another, again, and it goes back to respect and the lack thereof. When you guys watch stuff like this going on, and you could even, you know, go retrospect back to the Vietnam War, when the guys came home from that, another unnecessary war, but they went and they did their duty, and people would spit at them, call them baby killers and this and that and the other. Everybody out there has a job. When do people start to realize, A, these people are doing their job, B, they deserve the respect as human beings and people out there protecting you, but most importantly, C, these are the people who protect your dumbass rights to go out there and do this. So, Rick, let's start with you on this. You know, like I said, you're both military. What do you feel about stuff like this? You, Rick.
There you go, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, me. Okay. All right. Okay. It's Mike and I are volunteers. We're professional soldiers. We chose this because we wanted to. And that's the reason why you have drill sergeants on the playground barking orders, giving orders, and you keeping rigidly still. This is to instill instinctive obedience and discipline. So, you know, civilians don't have the capacity to stand there and take that. I mean, you might feel something in your heart and your head, but we've put up with a lot worse shit than somebody doing that stuff to us. Like, that's going to go on, try something a bit better. So there's that discipline. The training is just superb. That's point number one. Point number two, if it's being set up, yeah, what do we feel about it? It's just the job. You understand that when you sign a piece of paper and says, well, what are the terms and conditions of my employment? Well, on the upside, you get a couple of medals and get to travel overseas. On the downside, you might die. And the guys go, yeah, all right, fair enough. So again, we're not civilians. Please understand, we don't think, we don't act like you, we don't respond like you. I remember some guy threatened to have a fight with me in the freedom movement. And somebody said to him, mate, you don't understand soldiers. They don't fight, they kill. So be really careful. I'm not interested in fighting anybody. I mean that. I've had a few fights and I've come out on top, and that's okay. But I'm not interested in that. So you got to understand that soldiers are different, particularly professional soldiers who chose this life, who love this life. It's hard. The harder it is, the better it is, as far as I'm concerned. There's nothing worse than a bored soldier. A bored professional soldier is dangerous. Keep them busy, even if it's standing in line having someone spit at you. So you got to understand, what do we feel? Nothing really. It's on a personal level. It's no big deal. What does sting a soldier is when they're let down by their commanders. That creates a moral wound. There's an expectation that we will risk all, but we expect you to look after us. And this is the commencement of post-traumatic stress. That moral wound that comes when an expectation is not met by our commanders, because we're throwing everything into it. Everything. We sacrifice ourselves, our family, our kids, everybody for something greater than ourselves. And all we want is the boss to do the right thing by us. That doesn't necessarily mean save our lives, just do the right thing. That's when you're going to get soldiers angry. So soldiers, I'll give you an example. I don't get angry watching that stuff on TV because that's low impact danger, right? What got me furious was watching the ISIS parade of Toyota trucks driving across with all their, all the technicals with the shit on the back. And I'm sitting there and my wife said, why are you cranky? I said, because who do you think paid for the Toyotas? Who allowed the Toyotas to be provided to ISIS in the first place? That is where I start getting cranky. Not because some idiot is spitting at me, because I've had that too. Somebody jumped me once, and before he hit the deck, I had my arm around his neck and I was an eighth of an inch from breaking his neck. And he went floppy and the police said, let go. And I didn't. It was all good. But my point is this, that was just instinctive training and reaction. But where I really got cranky, when those ISIS trucks were driving up and down, and they were presented to the world as this undefeatable force of that just can't fight. No, they've won. The bullshit. They won nothing. They could have been taken out in the first place. But what they shouldn't have never happened. It should never have happened. ISIS selling oil across the Turkish border, really? Producing passports, really? These people have that capability. I'm sorry, I've got 5 years in the Middle East, so this is not a theoretical experience. This is, I know how it works there. And so that's what gets me cranky. When we are betrayed by our seniors, that's where I see red. But the other stuff, you just deal with it.
Mike?
Yeah, so we've seen some of these liberal Democrats come out and say how the military should, not obey unlawful orders. It's like
Hold that thought for a second. You mean
you can
this?
refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
It has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution.
We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
The Army,
Our Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
I'm sorry, which one of those three is the commander-in-chief
yeah.
of the armed forces?
So Lieutenant Colonel Bosi and I, along with other, high-ranking former military, we all are of the opinion that is seditious, and those people should probably not be around much longer. But regardless, that's most people that are in the military, I say 99.9% probably, look at that and they're like, whatever. And I think that in the future, when they try and do this and it doesn't have the effect or the stigmata, whatever they wanted to have against Trump and his MAGA team, and then they come out with these paid provocateurs that spit. Trump has already said, you spit, we hit. And that's what's been happening, because it's a physical assault with spit. A lot of people don't realize that. but it's a physical assault. And you see people that are like in other people's faces yelling. They're not touching them. That's okay. But once they're not a threat. Now, for me, if you're arm's distance away, you're a threat to me. I know that. So I wouldn't let you get that close. But if you spit from whatever distance, then you can be taken down and arrested. So that's starting to happen. Trump in the past, in his first term, people were like defacing monuments and so forth. And so that's going to be 10 years if you do that. And then he charged some people 10 years in prison for defacing monuments. So it stopped. And that's where we have to go. We have to get it to the point where there's a legal repercussion for this, and those seditious six, when they do have their legal repercussion for what they've done. And it's just like I talked about, they're letting them, like a Marcus, not a Marcus, but a Hannibal type of pincer movement. Come on, come deeper, bring everybody, and then just take like, yep, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing right now. A lot of people are like, how do you let them get away? It's like, wait for it. Wait for it. It's going to be good.
See, and you just hit on a keyword, and it goes with what I was talking about before, but you just hit on the keyword. It is responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, and again, that's something that's been honed over the past 40 years since the creation of the me generation, but nobody wants to be responsible for anything. Not for any reason. And that's why you've got all these parasite lawyers out there advertising and, we're going to get you money and we're going to do this, that, or the other. Everybody threatens legal action for this and that and the other. Why? Because they can, because they're all emboldened with a complete and total lack of responsibility. And this is another thing that globally we've all got to get past, because we're supposed to be out there helping each other, unifying, not fighting each other. Because while we're fighting each other, these jackals in the state capitals and the federal capitals, et cetera, are doing much worse things to us than they do to most of the traffic children. And we don't even know it. We've been so screwed, we don't even feel it anymore. So you're going to say something, Rick?
Yeah. Just following on from what you said about responsibility, you did, right. But DJT's cleverly got a little plan in place for that. And he slips these things in and people might not necessarily see it. I'll give you a global one and a small one. The global one is this. He says in his national security document that it's not our job to save the world. We look after our interests. Everybody says, oh, that's fair enough. But then he signs up Qatar as a national strategic partner. So anything that happens to Qatar is a threat to the US strategic interests. And so what he does bit by bit with countries around the planet, oh, no, US, no, we don't touch anybody or anything unless it attacks our national interests. Oh, by the way, Qatar is now part of our strategy. So is Bolivia. So you see what I mean? So all of a sudden there's responsibility. So the world divided into its little areas. He has cleverly done an end run around their little game by having these strategic alliances into areas which will now prevent people doing bad things to other countries, let's say, whether high visibility or low visibility activities, because it's now against the United States national interest, and they will intervene. It's the big stick. Now that's on the macro level. Now what was the micro level? I was going to give you an example. Yes. Palantir, Genesis Project, AI. Trump is buying into a lot of the corporations that are going to drive the innovation and technological development over the next many, many years, which is necessary because basically the crooks would have us dead in record time if there wasn't somebody overseeing it. And so that makes sense. But the clever part in terms of responsibility is this: that company, Palantir particularly, the CEO used to be the poster boy for woke. Not anymore, he's not. So I presume that he's had a knock on the door. The rules of the games have been explained to him. But more importantly, everybody in that company will be, I'm not sure exactly what the technical approach is, but they're effectively members of the military, or at least subject to military law. That makes sense? So all of a sudden, it's not just, hey, I'm a civilian, I'm working in Palantir and I gave some secrets away. I said, no. Because we have an interest in this, you are now, and you have to sign up, and you're subject to military law or a version thereof. And if you mess up, you're going to pay big time. So that responsibility in a very real way is now coming back, because up until now, it's just been this game they play. Hey, I sold a few secrets, no problem. Not anymore. And it doesn't matter. You could be a typist on the front desk, but if you do the wrong thing because you're now working for the US government and subject to military law, you watch people behave themselves when they realize there's a big stick coming down. As you said, 10 years in jail. That's enough to keep anybody straight. And so that need for people to feel responsibility, it's in place both globally and individually. The world will change when all of a sudden, you know what it's like, you got a cop car behind you and you drop below the speed limit just in case. Are you a bad person? No, you just, stay out of trouble.
Well, I want to ask you both about that. I was by trade an engineer. I understand the technology of AI, but when I boil things down to their basics, AI is a very actively intelligent computer program, series of computer programs. And what makes a computer program or a computer itself work are the programmers. Now, this goes right back to what I was saying before about the people of the world being vigilant and paying attention, not going back to being the absentee landlords, as opposed to, AI is great. Look, I can go and put Biden in diapers and a sombrero. You got to look at the consequences of things. So when you look at it, and especially since both of you were involved in psychological operations, what's your take on the future of AI and the security of AI? Either one.
You go, Mike.
Yeah, I think the future is, like you said, it's what we make it. A lot of people are scared of AI. There's going to be a problem. I don't see that whatsoever. It's our reality. AI can't come into it. AI doesn't exist without us, and that's the way it's going to go forward. I feel like I've been involved with AI for a long time, and on certain levels. Of course, it comes at us in negative ways. Those of us that have shows, we see negative AI come in all the time. I've been aware of this for 5 years. You let it. It's a troll. It's an AI troll, but it's not real, and it doesn't bother me. I just make sure it gets deleted and never comes back in that AI mode ever again. And then I have people that are working to accomplish that. I'm probably sure that in this show that we're doing right now, there's some probably AI trolling that's going on, because the three of us are bringing a lot of truth, and they're always trying to stop that out. So there's a negative AI influence out there, but then there's a positive AI. But either way, it's not a living entity. It can't live within our reality unless we give it that energy. So if it bothers you, it bothers you. If it doesn't, like most of us, it is what it is. It's like I speak to my phone. I want to know a direction to go someplace, and it tells me where to go. I think it's great. So in the future, will it get more involved? I think it's more involved on an incredible level right now. I think there's a lot of game theory that's been going on and that's part of how we're defeating the black hats right now through a very, very sophisticated AI system that's been developed. And that's why there's a race right now to develop the greatest AI and if we don't have the best AI, then it could like come in and sabotage everything. I don't see that, but I think that there is a great service that AI is already bringing. I remember when people were like, "I'm never going to use the internet." Remember those days? It's like the dial-up with AOL. You got mail. It's like it's like we're so far beyond that. It's like unbelievable. And AI is just going to be another service for us going forward. We'll be able to use it. Can it be utilized in a negative way? Sure, like I just talked about. But I don't see it as a big threat.
How about you, Rick?
Uncontrolled, it's a greater threat than nuclear war, AI. I agree with everything Mike said in terms of it's useful. In fact, we cannot advance without leaning heavily on AI. The trouble is this: people have been following the talking heads on TV mindlessly for decades, and look where it's got us. The trouble is, you get AI generated stuff. People go, "Oh, did you see that? Oh, look, I saw a video of a lion and a giraffe having sex, and they produced this hybrid, and it speaks 4 languages." And I believe it. So we got a bit of a problem. But more important than even that, my view is this: controlled AIs. There's got to be controls over AI simply because. And Sam Altman from ChatGPT, OpenAI. He was asked a question by Tucker Carlson, and I highly recommend everybody watching watch the full interview of Tucker Carlson with Sam Altman, and and you can tell when he's got a headpiece in his ears. The camera's here on his left, and when he gets stuck, you can tell he's being given instructions in that ear to obfuscate or evade the point Tucker's trying to make. But the problem is this: when he was asked about the morality, what sort of morality do you put into this thing? He said, "Oh, well, we take an aggregate of the planet." Think about that for a minute. So we're going to take an aggregate of what? Every lunatic Islamist out there and put that in as on an equal footing as maybe, I don't know, some Christian ideas. Now, if you think I'm being overly worrying, let me paint you this picture. It's not mine, but it's a ripper. Imagine you're driving through town and your car dies and you're in a really bad neighborhood and the lights are out and you're there and you're by yourself. It's a town you don't know. And then you see a light in the distance, out of the door open, the light spills out onto the street. And there are 3 large heavy-set men wearing hoods. And they look across at you and then they start walking towards you. Now, how are you feeling? Now, how are you feeling when you realize you've just come out of a Bible class? Morality is not something you aggregate. Morality is something you establish on the highest possible level. So when you've got Sam Altman programming and I know that Sam's just this highly intelligent fuckwit, morally speaking. He's got no common sense, right? But highly intelligent. And the people behind him are not moral at all. They're driving this to be what it is supposed to do, which is a tool to destroy humanity or control it anyway. So when you've got Sam Altman saying, "Oh, we're going to aggregate morality," when they're creating an AI that can lie to you, instead of saying, "Well, there are 3 opposing views here, and here," no, AI will actually give you, "Oh, my best guess," or will actually lie to you and say, "Oh, this is the answer." There are the 3 laws of robotics that were written by Isaac Asimov a long time ago, which should be put into every AI system. And I haven't got them in front of me. I don't want to misquote them. But the 3 laws of robotics are foundational. They're very simple. And unless AI has that built into it, and unless AI is controlled, it could spell the end of life on Earth as we know it, because people will follow what they are told. We've got evidence of that. My God, COVID, the TV said, get a shot, get 9 shots. My God, Omicron. And so, wow. So I'm just pleased that with the Genesis project, the DJT and his team are wrapping up. They're putting Armaco railings on this particular road so nobody can go off track. And he's going to grip this up. And it's not an overstatement, I don't think, to say that it's more dangerous than giving every local militia their own atomic bomb. because we'll destroy ourselves without even realizing it. Because I'm sorry, but we are just not sufficiently evolved to handle something like AI. We just aren't. We just aren't. It is. I wish I could say this, but I can't. But at the end of this road, uncontrolled AI will destroy life on Earth. It really will. It really will.
Well, to kind of capitalize on that, and because we're coming up on 2 hours, I want to be respectful of both of your times and a whole bunch of questions I still haven't asked. We could probably go on with this for hours, but I want to do, because we've had phenomenal discussions here tonight, that the purpose of doing this was all to show that we don't have to go and editorialize like the MSM does, and like a lot of people, even in alternative media, do. We put out facts. None of this was an opinion. However, I want to close with an opinion because it's something that's been on my mind for a long time. Now, again, like I said, most of my career was as an engineer. And monkey brain, no other way to look at it. When 9/11 happened and 9/11 passed and got past the emotional aspect of it, yeah, it was very, very plain to see, because I had covered enough of them, that those buildings were imploded. There's no doubt about the fact that that was something natural. The problem that I had the biggest difficulty with was the premise of Operation Bluebeam. Do I doubt the possibility of something like that being possible? No. Technology, absolutely not. Did I doubt the possibility of that being possible in 2001, where for people on the street, people all in the area, that outdoors in New York City and in Jersey City, New Jersey, and that whole area, that you could physically create the visual of a plane and the sound of that, especially the second plane that came in from the west into the South Tower, revving up its engine before it made the final strike. So you guys are privy to a lot more than any of us out there are and were. Your opinion as to whether or not, we know that planes obviously didn't hit the buildings, because there's no way in hell structurally that it could have happened. Was it possible? And this is bouncing off the premise of AI. Was it possible for something such as Bluebeam back in 2001 to have created that reality?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, something created it. We try to figure. I remember looking at it going, that doesn't make sense. It's like, and then you see the Pentagon, the most secure building in the world, and they got one little clip of a tail going into an explosion. So they're obviously, and then the out in Pennsylvania where supposedly the plane crashed, all complete bullshit, all of it. Any of us that have any eyes to see, saw it right away. If you're I work with demolitions. I've been, I looked at the buildings collapsing, and I was like, well, somebody got in there and put demolition in there. Wow, how did they do that? So without somebody knowing that, and so then the questions are asked, and then it takes time for you to find the answers. We've been involved with very, very high tech stuff that, some of the stuff I was involved with still hasn't come out. Probably, I don't know, maybe it won't ever come out. The information, the technical, and the incredible things that I've worked with, they're way advanced. There's way advanced stuff out there. And I know that even I wasn't seeing everything. All of us knew different things. I was in certain programs that were compartmentalized that I saw stuff. I'm like, oh my God. So, yeah, there's definitely that capability. So Project Bluebeam, I've talked about all kinds of crazy stuff. And I know that it exists because I got attacked viciously because I disclosed some of the stuff I disclosed. So I'm like, okay, that's an indicator that that exists. So why would they try to kill me or destroy my life otherwise? So the Project Bluebeam, can they do something like that? This 3-eye atlas thing, are they going to make something out of that? I don't, maybe, but I think we're at the point right now we're not going to be as compromised. I say that with the caveat that, God, almost 80% of people in the world got the vaccination, even though many of us are like, don't get it, it's going to be bad, but people still did. It's crazy. So I don't think that it's going to have an impact because we've been talking about it for decades, that it's coming. So, but can people be, fear porn? Yeah, sure. And then once it catches, like it did with the the COVID, then it's hard to stop it. So that's what I think that all three of us and many others have been involved in, trying to, like the monkeypox, we got on top of that right away and shut it down. I feel so if we can get on top of a lot of this stuff, before it gets out of hand, we can stop these pandemics, these Project Bluebeam operations that they have probably lined up for us, and who knows what else. But we have to work together, and I think we're working together better than ever before. But we have to be aware that if they come in with another shutdown of free speech like they did, we're done again, and that's how they were able to do what they did last time. So we, I think that with President Trump in the office, that's not going to happen. When they took him out of office, that's when it happened. Free speech went away. A lot of us lost our, platforms to keep people informed. So now we're able to keep people informed on a level I think we haven't seen in a long time. So I'm very, very, like we've been saying all along, I'm very positive that things are moving in the right direction.
How about you, Rick?
The technology out there, phenomenal, just phenomenal. And it's not just technology, it's energetic skills that sapient beings have. Mike's a classic case. Brilliant stuff. And that's sort of, we're drifting into the realm of 6 and 7G warfare. The first generation warfare, throwing rocks at each other, working our way up, trench warfare, maneuver warfare, including aircraft, and then you've got asymmetrical warfare, terrorist non-state actors at 4th gen warfare. Now we've got 5th gen warfare, the battle for the mind, in terms of not just what you think, but how you think. And then you've got 6, 7 gen warfare, which is out there. Now, having said that, let me condense that into something that the average punter out there will understand. Mike mentioned, you're on the phone, you say, take me to, the local Budweiser hotel, please. And it'll come back with a route. It'll tell you exactly how long it'll take. It'll tell you how far it is. It'll tell you about congestion along the route and provide an alternative solution if you want to get there 2.5 minutes quicker. And everybody goes, great. Well, we've got they don't know exactly, but somewhere between 1.4 and 1.6 billion cars and trucks on the planet. Now, you don't think that the computing power that can tell every one of those cars and trucks how they get their destination, think of the computing power required just to monitor traffic for everybody with a phone that wants to get from point A to point B. All right? It is huge. Now, think about your laptop when you've got more than a dozen tabs open, and all of a sudden it starts grindingly slowly. You think we have the latest of anything? Not even close. Not even close. And so when you see things like Bluebeam and the rest of it, is it possible? Yeah, of course it's possible. Because, wow, what they haven't told us about, even 100 years ago, what they knew existed, would blow us away today. and what you got to realize in the development of humanity, whether it was the discovery of the Iron Age or Bronze Age or all these little discoveries, we sort of think there's this, excuse me, this gentle, reasonably sort of gentle increasing slope as we climbed out of the mud and reached for the stars. But that's not how it worked. Here's how it worked. We're in the mud, and then there's a spike of an achievement, technology, whatever, and then we decline again, and then we spike again, and then we decline again, then we spike again. What does that tell you? It tells you there's something sticking its nose in at key points of our development. And I don't want to go too far on this, but I'm trying to make a point here. There are hugely capable, beyond our imagination, technologies out there that somebody else came up with a long time ago and slowly being fed to us. I just want to make that point, because when the people say, oh, no, blue bin this, and no, they can't do that because they think this thing here is the height of technology. It ain't. It ain't, not by a long shot. So look, trust yourself. Know that the false flags are coming thick and fast. One of the metrics of our success as a species is when we can spot the false flag. As Mike said, the monkeypox thing, that got knocked on the head in record time. And I was roaring with laughter, like, oh, here we go. And it got knocked on the head. And as soon as we start spotting the false flags as quick as that, we're in control of our lives for the first time. It's brilliant and just demand proof. So what you see and hear, enjoy the show if you want. Don't take it too seriously. We're in great hands. It's all being played out. We have won. They have lost. It's just the last moves. You've heard the story. Two master chess players can see, 7, 12 moves ahead, and they know that one is lost and one is won as long as nobody cocks up. And they're just making the last moves. So look after yourself. Look after your family. Look after your friends, look after your suburb, your town, your country. Mike Flynn says it, local action, global implications. Be good to yourself, be good to others, be kind. There's a better way to live than hating people. We're going to be okay. Don't be too shocked by the fear porn merchants. There's things to think about, without a doubt. But as I tell my A1 people, focus more on how we're going to rebuild the country. The war's going to be won. Not our job to win the war. That'll happen. But there's no point then sitting here saying, well, what next? No. We have to know what's next. We have to recruit what's next. We have to design what's next. We've got to think about it, discuss it. So as soon as we get the opportunity to, we start living our best lives ever. And it's up to us.
That is the key right there. It is up to us. And I'm going to say something, and I'm positive you're going to see next to me 2 positive affirmation nodding heads when I say that the greatest motivator in the world to mankind is fear. And the business that I came out of, and unfortunately you see it a lot in the business that we are all involved in now as well. And I've said this on the air, I've said it to people for decades already. If we don't scare the crap out of you, you don't watch. That's how the mainstream media exists. That's why you always, biggest thing that people tune into are the weather specials when the end of the world is coming. Everybody loves to watch it because there's no greater motivator than fear. So pay attention to what it is that you're watching. And the purpose of tonight's broadcast was to show you that you could take a series of topics that have been put out there, and you don't have to go and listen to someone else's opinion, because odds are they're not smart enough to give you their opinion. Listen for the facts, and you'll know the facts because they'll resonate with you. And I couldn't have had 2 better people on tonight to lay that out on the topics that, so many topics that we didn't cover, but on the topics that we did and that we even broadened. Couldn't have been explained better by anybody out there. I want to thank you both for your time tonight. It was a phenomenal discussion. really phenomenal time. It's always a pleasure having you both here. And of course, exactly what Lieutenant Colonel Bosi was talking about before. This is real hard to find, folks. So it goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the show. Go on Google, type in National Security Strategy. It's the first thing that comes up there. Read it. Not that difficult. It'll give you something to do instead of watching the idiot in the suit and tie, not Lieutenant Colonel Bosi. You know what I'm talking about. Instead of watching them, read that. You'll get a lot more knowledge and understanding out of it. Because again, we need to work together, not apart. And of course, none of us would be here and none of us would be what it was if we didn't have Claudia, Kat, Carrie, and Doug. Best people you could have helping you on the show that there are. Producers, mods. They make everything so seamless for us. So I want to thank them. I want to thank all of you for tuning in. It was a great show. We'll be back again next week with another great show. And in the meantime, you all have a great week. Be kind to each other. Do the right thing. Let's move this forward. Thank you again, Michael Jaco. Thank you again, Lieutenant Colonel Riccardo Bosi. And thank you all. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.